Hey everybody, welcome to Takeoff with John Clark, presented by Make Field Putters. Let's welcome in a special guest. You see him on Eagles Post-Game Live. You see him on Birds Huddle. He's doing a great job covering the Eagles, analyzing the Eagles, breaking down all the film. Hasn't been so good lately, right, Jason Avant?
Nah, not great, but we're working at it.
So I first want to jump into the news of the day with you, Jason. Jalen Carter had procedures on both shoulders.
Yeah.
Not surgeries, but procedures. And the hope is, his shoulders have been ailing him. The hope is rest him up, get him ready for the playoffs. How concerned should Eagles fans be with the way the defense has played the last couple of weeks, now missing Jalen Carter?
Well, before we get to that, I'm actually kind of relieved in the sense that Jalen Carter does have some type of ailment or injury, because the way Darnell Wright got after him and the Bears offensive line got after him, it makes a lot more sense, because I've never seen Jalen Carter be thrown out of the club like that. And also his production numbers this year is just way down, and he's not the same dominant force. So him having an injury makes a lot more sense, and it actually gives me a big sigh of relief, because I'm worried about the defense going forward. Should the Eagles fans be worried about it? Yes, of course. The Eagles defensive line is predicated on him being dominant and those defensive tackles stopping the run. And the Chargers have had some success, especially against the Raiders this past game, running the ball with Kamani Vidal. So we'll see how the defensive line, is able to adjust without Jalen Carter. We know that we're very thin at the defensive tackle position. They're going to have to play very strong defense, and as far as just two-gapping and not looking for pass rush, just eliminate the run and then allow the secondary to do its job. But it's going to be very scary going forward, especially these next few games.
And without Jalen Carter, is there really anybody that has to be double teamed when you don't have him in the lineup?
Well, they always double team Jordan Davis. It's just that when that's a running down, So, and Moro Ojomo is a really good player, but when it comes to defensive pass rush, no, they're going to feel like they can handle the Eagles' defensive tackles pretty much one-on-one. So, yeah, you're not going to look for those double teams. Now you're going to put that double team to Jalen Phillips or Moro Ojomo in pass rush situations. But, they're not going to have to worry about the Eagles' defensive line. The good thing about the Chargers game is that the Chargers are playing with a bunch of backups. They're missing both their tackles, and Joe Alt and Rashawn Slater, being out since the beginning of the season. So they're playing with backups themselves. So hopefully the Eagles can win this backup on backup matchup.
Yeah, but with the way they've been run on, and like you and other people have been saying, it's hard to believe how well the Bears did pushing around the Eagles' defensive line. So with the Chargers, Jim Harbaugh, he's going to want to run the ball. Is that basically where this game will be won for the Eagles' defense? Is if they can slow down the run, they have a chance?
Well, I think they'll have a chance. Now, the Chargers are not as adamant about running the ball as the Bears were this game, and a part of that was because of the weather conditions and then throwing the ball. But what Ben Johnson was able to effectively do is confuse the Eagles' defensive line, and they were stronger as far as their offensive line. So he did a bunch of motions, a bunch of things behind the line of scrimmage, not blocking the defensive end, switching up blocking schemes, something that the Eagles' offense can take note of and implement into their own game. And yes, Coach Harbaugh does, some funky things when it comes to motions, but he does it with personnel. He wants to be an old school team where there's a fullback in the game and, there's two tight ends and they're running the ball down your throat. I don't think that the Eagles have to worry about that. It was the scheme of Ben Johnson and what he was able to do. And I think people are going to try to repeat that and mimic that. And we have to be worried about people replicating that game plan again.
And to me, Jason, I'm a little concerned when you lose a Jalen Carter and the pass rush really hasn't been there the last couple games like we've seen it earlier. And then you have the injury to Andrew Makuba, and that means, hey, guys in the secondary are going to have to cover a little bit longer when you're not getting to the quarterback. Like, how much of a concern is that when you have Sidney Brown or possibly Marcus Epps back there when you're not getting that pass rush like we were earlier?
I think Vic Fangio, coming out and saying, he's, hoping that Marcus Epps plays kind of tells you, their confidence in Sidney. Sidney is a great special teams player and can be effective at times. It's just that he does things that causes him to be out of position, and that messes up the structure of your defense. You need to be able to turn the ball back and bring it towards your help. So Is there concern? It's concern because they have Lab McConkey, they have Quentin Johnston, they have Keenan Allen. All of these guys are elite at separating. They're really, really good at it, especially Lab McConkey. He does a great job of uncovering and press coverage. So when you don't have that presence up front and that pass rush, it leaves Justin Herbert, a guy that can throw the ball really effective in a situation where he's going to be effective throwing the ball at McConkey. So yeah, it's a nightmare thought to us because I know how well these guys uncover.
So, Jason, I'm going to lay out a scenario here. You've seen the Eagles win 4 in a row this year, then they lose 2 in a row, and that's happened twice now in a row. But each of the time that the Eagles have lost 2 in a row, it's been on a short week. That Giants game, lost the second one, and then you got Dallas and then Chicago. So they've got that mini bye, and we've seen them play really well coming off a mini bye or a bye week. They come and play better. Do you think that will be the same situation again? Do you think we will see a better Birds team on Monday night?
You know what? I'm still looking at the tape, and I'm trying to just hold off my prediction. I will say this is that the Eagles aren't the most they're challenging. They're challenging in this sense is that I don't know what I'm going to get from the team. They're inconsistent in a lot of ways. And then some things I thought were their strengths are not. So I think it's an uphill battle for them. People are just assuming that this Chargers team are going to lay down and like the Eagles they have them. No, this is a good football team. And I think that they can put up points offensively if they score in the red zone. This team moves the ball in between the 20s better than any football team in the National Football League. It's just that they don't score touchdowns at a high clip. So if they can convert on touchdowns, the Chargers can blow us out. So
really,
it's one of those things that I think the Eagles have enough fight that the game will be close. And I think that they can win the ball game, but I don't know what team we're going to get from the Eagles. I don't know if we're going to get 3-and-out Eagles. I don't know if we're going to get A.J. Brown's getting the ball and we're happy. Can Saquon have a revival? Can Jalen, put us in position to win in a high-scoring game? Because that's what I think that this game will be. I think this game without Jalen Carter turns into a 30-point game. And can Jalen hold up his end of the bargain with the offense? I don't know if that's possible.
All right, you said 30-point game, Jason Avant. Now you're saying 30-point game for the Chargers, maybe, or are you saying the Eagles are going to improve offensively?
Yeah, I'm saying that the Eagles are going to have to be in the high 20s, low 30s in order to win this ball game without Jalen Carter. I just think that that's one of those things that, okay, if I can put, we have an advantage with Jalen Phillips. But if they can, protect with a chip with their fullback or their running back on him, who else is going to generate the pass rush? And if that's the case, do I believe that the scheme of Harbaugh and the company are going to get open against, Cooper DeJean or Marcus Epps or, linebackers underneath? I think that Justin Herbert is definitely accurate enough to get that accomplished.
All right. Now, if this is kind of a high-scoring game, give me an idea, the inconsistencies of the offense. What do you think we're going to see offensively coming out of the bye week? We heard Nick Sirianni say they're looking at the scheme. They're looking at, hey, are we going into games thinking defenses are going to do something to us and then we're not adjusting enough? Like he's talking about scheme, game planning, and adjustments. I mean, what do you think we're going to see from this Eagles offense?
Well, you're going to see more of, I would say, trying to establish the run. I thought that they tried to establish the run against the Bears. It's just that they didn't convert on third downs, which gave them less opportunity, only having 17 plays in the first half. So I think that's always going to be the starting point, is try to get the run game going. The other part that I liked is that AJ and Jalen were able to hit an Omaha pump. An Omaha pump is basically an out and up, a 5-yard out and up. And that's a complement to a route that they run some, right, which is a 5-yard out or stop. And they're starting to bring the complements out. That's what this offense needs. If you're not going to have a full restructuring of this offense, let's bring in the complement routes, right? So I saw A.J. Brown running out routes and stop routes. I saw him on dig routes and dagger routes over the middle, caught one over the middle. They missed one over the middle. I saw him in the slot more this past game. So they're trying to implement things that can actually be effective. I saw a little bit more movement from Jalen on the edge. He did have some quarterback runs. You're seeing them try to establish, the run game and also trying to get people in different positions. So hopefully we can see more of those complementary routes, right? So if they have an in route, they have an out that comes off of. If they have a slant, they have a slant and out. They have a slant and go. If they have a hitch, they have a hitch and go. They have a hitch, go, and stop. They have so many different variations of these routes. I would like to see more of them called. Maybe have someone in the booth that is charting what player is running what so they can have the adjustment ready for the next series, and hopefully they can implement those things.
So we saw A.J. Brown go over 100 yards again.
Yeah.
I've got an interesting stat for you. I
Yeah.
would like you to tell me what you think it means. This year, when the Eagles have had a player, at least one player, go over 100 receiving yards, they're 2-4.
Mm-hmm.
So these games where A.J. Brown is now going over 100 yards and getting fed, they're not winning. What's going on?
Well, part of that is the situation, right? In most of these games, if you look at those games, you're going to see that the Eagles are losing. And so when you're in a losing situation, you have to throw in order to, come back into the game. So that means that stat is kind of misleading. I think that if you get the guys the ball early enough and you not just the going over 100 yards or what have you, is that if you take timely shots and you are throwing the ball down the field, not just 5-yard stops and slants, they don't have a big difference in the game, but if they're actually getting chunk plays and explosive plays, that kind of correlates to winning. But if you're losing and you're trying to throw to get back in position, I think that's what those stats kind of say more than we should not try to get AJ and Devontae and whoever else is going over 100 yards the ball. Yes, will we do better at running? Yeah, we would do better at running the ball, but explosive plays everyone needs. It's hard to get first down after first down, especially with this team that goes 3 and out so much. Having less third downs is actually good for this team. And the way you do that is have explosive plays, 20, 30-yard plays.
But if you're looking for an identity of an offense, and obviously this is a running football team last year, and a couple of other times they were a running football team when they turned around their season first year under Nick Sirianni and Shane Steichen. So against the Bears, Saquon ripping off 5 yards, and then they may get tackled for a loss, and then it's like, okay, we didn't go to the run as much.
Yeah.
So do you think that they really have to stick with the run?
I think the game dictates that. And do I think that they need to make the commitment to the run? Yes, but you can't run in 3rd and 10. So if we are being penalized like we are as a team, this is not just, the offensive play caller and running the ball. We get a positive play, then we get a penalty. Or there's a positive play and then a guy gets beat up front and now it's 3rd and long, right? So you can't run the ball in those situations. And in those situations, you have to throw the ball. And so, yes, the emphasis is being a run team as best as you can, but you need to be able to do both. Look at the Cowboys. Look at the Cowboys got going on. They can run the ball. They can throw the ball. That's what you want in the National Football League. You don't have to win the same way every time.
Now, do you believe that this team, with the offensive line, they're still without Lane Johnson for maybe another week, do you believe that they can find their running attack again and be successful? Not asking for 2,000 yards like last year, but be successful in the running game.
Yeah, I think it's about guys getting blocks. I don't think that it has to do with Lane Johnson as much as it is the middle three. The middle three have played woefully bad this season, and that's just the honest truth. The middle three, unlike, the years prior, were dominant when Landon Dickerson, wasn't hurt, and when they had Mekhi Becton or whoever else was there, and when they had, Kelsey and Cam being healthy. But the middle three with guys being out, haven't had great production from Tyler Steen. So that's what makes the run game go. So those guys missing blocks and not getting on their assignments causes the run game to suffer. And so more so than Lane Johnson, those 3 guys have to pick their game up.
Yeah, and obviously, Cam Jurgens coming off the back surgery,
Yeah.
and then Landon Dickerson, I'll see him after games on the road.
Yes.
In the locker room, he's hobbling around.
Yeah, no, they're not healthy.
Yeah.
They're not healthy. But those three guys are what's wrong with the offensive protection and the run game.
Yeah. And obviously, you got to get the run game going, and that will help the passing game. I'm sure you saw the Hard Knocks HBO show where Jalen and Devontae were not on the same page.
Yeah.
And give me an idea, does this happen normally this late in the season? Because you've had the great years with the Eagles. Does this happen late in the season like that? Or is that something that shouldn't happen?
It happens on every team. It happens on every team, and quarterbacks and receivers miss all the time. It's just that you don't want it to miss in a critical situation. You hope that zero, when you get that coverage, that you can make them pay. And the perfect call was made. So that was a choice concept. A choice concept basically says if a guy's inside of you, you break out. If a guy's outside of you, you break in. If the middle field is open, like cover 0, cover 2, you break toward a slant. And Devontae did exactly what the coach taught. He broke in like it was a slant. Here's the thought. Many years, and if it's green grass, there's nobody in front of you, you settle down like a hitch. And Jalen probably thought there was green grass. There are some people that says, nobody's there, just turn around, I dot you with the ball. But the big play is breaking inside, like on that inside slant. So it happens. It shouldn't happen in that situation because you're taught over and over again for that particular coverage and how to make teams pay. So, but Jalen owned up to it. A lot was made about Dallas Goedert being missed. He didn't even look for the ball, or Jalen was on the right side of the play. That was his quick read, shortest throw to the boundary. They just missed, and it was unfortunate because that play had big implications on staying in the ball game and changing the ball game around. There's a few plays that the Eagles could have made in order to make that a close game down the stretch.
And this is kind of like the story of their season. It's something different on every play. So a lot of Eagles fans, everywhere I go, they're like, this team is collapsing again like 2023. Not a Super Bowl caliber contender like last year. What do you think? If you had to bet money on one side of it, do you think that they can make a run in the playoffs, or do you think this team is going to fall apart like it did 2 seasons ago?
Well, the team have fell apart or started to, fall apart like now. I don't think they're going to have like that big of a drop off just because of the players that they have and the problems that they're dealing with. It's not that they can't stop anyone and they have bad cornerback play. That's what we had, in 2023, and the offense, struggled late. So I don't think it's going to be that way, but do I think that it could be a one and done playoff team? Yes. Do I think that? I think that's a very, very strong chance if they don't recover and figure out a way to right the ship on offense. And it's not just offense. Our defense is inconsistent too. They have games where they look like world beaters, and then you have a game like, the Bears, or you go back to other games and you're like, wait, what is happening right now? Is that we have to be more consistent on both sides of the ball. And until then, within these next 5 games, if that doesn't improve, I think this is a one and done playoff team.
Wow. Now, do you think that what happens on offense, leading the NFL in 3 and outs, do you think that does have a negative effect on the defense? Like, is it more the offense that has to improve, and that kind of it improves the defense as well when you're doing that?
Yeah, 100%. Guys are fresher, and they don't have to play so many snaps, and the earnest is not on them to be perfect. And that's what you have when you have an offensive football team that can score 28 points, that can score 30 points. The defense realized that they have mistakes to make, and now they can go out and play freely, knowing that our offense can overcome the mistake that I made. But guess what happens when you play freely? There's also a great likelihood that you're able to make a play that you normally wouldn't have made. Now that you can't depend on your offense, you're playing conservative. You're playing passive. You're not being the first aggressor. So turnovers are less, the opportunities are less because you're not looking with that mentality of going to try to make a play because you know that your offense can't dig you out of the hole. It's a totally different thing when you're playing with Patrick Mahomes and you realize, okay, they have to score 25, 30 points to beat us, so I can be more aggressive and maybe I can do a new move on pass rush, or maybe I can take a chance at safety or corner. I may be able to, try to pick one off, and those things can work out for you. And so until the Eagles offense can become dependable like that, I think we're going to see the defense at times struggle.
Yeah, and that is what happened during the collapse, but I do think the coaching is a lot better. Now, obviously, Vic Fangio more so than Sean Desai. It's interesting because Jalen Hurts today mentioned that he's going back and looked at film tape of the last couple years, and he's looking at things like sequencing, structure, and organization. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer for quarterback and play caller to get on the same page. We've seen that last year. Jalen Hurts and Kellen Moore, they got on the same page, but it was a running team. They ran the ball a lot. Do you think that Jalen Hurts and Kevin Patullo do need to get on the same page? Do you think it will happen? The sequencing of plays and setting things up?
I don't know if I absolutely love the quarterback using the word sequencing, because I think it comes across as like passing a buck, because when you're talking about sequencing, you're talking about the formatting and the frequency of plays, what is happening during those plays. As a play caller, you're not always, as a quarterback, you're not in control of what play comes in. You're in control of what plays executed and how is that play working for you. From my vantage point, most of the time, not every time, there is a clear answer to the equation when it comes to the play calls. There's somewhere for Jalen to go with the football. Does Jalen always get to that, or is the play always made? No. Can Jalen do a lot better when it comes to reading defenses, getting the ball out, being strategic when taking chances, recognizing when blitzes are coming, getting us in the checks and getting us in hot reads, all those things? Can Jalen do a better job of that? I would have rather heard that than worrying about the sequences of plays.
And to wrap this up, kind of, as the offense looks for an identity, if you could say, hey, running the ball, play action sets up big plays. We know Jalen and the receivers love the deep balls. They're great at it. But could you change up the identity, the scheme like Nick Sirianni's talking about? Can you have a quick timing offense? Or is that possible with Jalen Hurts, Kevin Patullo?
You can. The quick timing is what they've been trying to do. You can. It's just that if you here's the thing. This is my thought process. The way that Nick Sirianni, I trust Nick Sirianni. I trust him as a coach. The way that he goes to bat for Kevin Patullo and the way that he's adamant that it's not just on Kevin Patullo, I think that is saying that a lot of this has to be some growth by Jalen Hurts. And I think that they're trying to do things. They're not executing those at a high level. So can we figure out ways to, again, add the complement routes to that, run the ball to take some of the pressure off Jalen a little bit, and then again be strategic in throwing the ball down the field, but giving guys opportunities and chances. Not like the interception that he threw against the Bears. That wasn't a great chance for a guy, but it was a great chance on the one that he did complete. AJ was able to get near the ball and good things happen. And so that's what we need more of, those opportunities down the field. But Jalen has to do a lot better job.
Yeah. I mean, it's not just one person, right?
Yeah, no, he has to do better. I think the offense comes down to basically, there's play calling that has to do it, and I think Kevin Patullo can do a better job. I'm not saying that. I'm not trying to, just totally take him out of the fray. But I think the offensive struggles come down to two things mainly: Jalen Hurts' play and the interior offensive line play. If those two can pick up, the Eagles will be better.
All right. Is there any chance that the Cowboys catch the Eagles?
There's a great chance.
What? Great chance?
It's a great chance.
Jason Avant, what?
It's a great chance. The Cowboys are playing at their best right now, and the Eagles are playing at their worst. It's a good chance.
Wow. Yeah. So you think the Cowboys have found themselves, found their identity, found what works, people getting healthier, and they're vibing.
Well, Dak is playing at a great level, and the receivers have not been able to be covered in the last 6 games. So I think that it is it's going well for the Cowboys right now. The offensive line is actually the most impressive group to me. Their offensive line's young, and that should be the problem with most Eagles fans, is that their offensive line is young and they're dogs. And if they continue to play like this, it'll be a struggle for us.
Yeah.
It's the truth. Just truth.
All right, Jason Avant. Well, thank you so much for joining us, and best wishes on Eagles postgame live and Birds Huddle and all that you do. We appreciate you breaking down the film and studying it with us.
All good. Thanks for having me,
John.
Yeah,
thank you.
Yep, peace.
Hey, I'm John Clark, and we are here in Bensalem, PA at Makefield Putters. And I got to tell you, we want to thank them for being our new sponsors of the Takeoff Podcast. And I've got putting issues when I get out there. I'm 6'5", and I had to get a custom putter. When I got this custom putter here, it changed my putting game. When it's wintertime and we go get jackets, different size people need different size jackets. Well, we got to get a custom putter for our size, our type of swing and everything. They break it all down for you. They build up the putter from scratch. They have all the data, the analytics, the statistics to get you to be a good putter. And when I came here to Makefield Putters and I started to use my custom putter, I got to tell you, I make it with Makefield. So next time you're on the course with Makefield Putters, go birdies. Hey everybody, welcome to a bonus edition of Takeoff with John Clark, presented by Makefield Putters. Let's welcome in our special guest, the Penn head basketball coach, Fran McCaffery. And what a story he is, because as a little kid, he would go to the Palestra, then he played for Penn, and now he's coaching Penn. Pretty wild ride for you, huh?
Very exciting. Just very appreciative of this opportunity to come back home. As you know, John, I've been gone a long time, in the coaching journey, but it all started right here, playing. And my first year in coaching was here. I worked for Coach Littlepage, played for Coach Weinhauer, and then worked with Coach Schneider up at Lehigh, and here I am back in Philly. It's just no better feeling.
And you are coaching in the Big 5 Classic Championship game Saturday night, presented by Toyota at Xfinity Mobile Arena. Not bad for a kid that was going to the Palestra. You're going to be the primetime game at the Xfinity Mobile Arena.
It's interesting, the new format, which I guess has only been in place for a couple of years. I think it's an interesting way to do it. And it's just an exciting opportunity to be in the championship game against, very talented, very well-coached, Villanova team. Kev and I, go way back, coaching against each other in the old Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference. He was at Iona, I was at Siena. And then I coached against him at Seton Hall and then at Maryland. Just tremendous respect for he and his program, how he does it. And, it's just a great opportunity to play in that venue against a team of that caliber, and we've earned our right there.
And growing up in Philly, going to the Palestra, give me an idea as a little kid. I imagine maybe you envisioned hopefully one day playing. Did you ever envision the coaching part of this? Like, what were you thinking when you were a little kid seeing, games at the Palestra?
Well, it was such an interesting time in college basketball history. There just aren't any doubleheaders anymore, but it was every Saturday night, doubleheader. The best players throughout the country coming into town to play the best players in Philadelphia. So many Philadelphia players on those rosters. The coaches were amazing, a number of Hall of Famers. So the quality of what you were seeing was so impressive. And at that time, it's strictly, I want to play. You still have your playing career in front of you. You're in elementary school and you're trying to get better and you're trying to learn and grow. Boy, wouldn't it be great if one day I could play in the Palestra on a regular basis? Then, of course, going to Penn, not only are we playing in the Palestra, but we're practicing every day in the Palestra. I get to go to the Palestra every day. So now I get to do the same thing. I think once I entered the profession, you wonder, hey, would I ever end up here potentially? And here I am, and there's no better feeling, like I said.
I remember growing up in Delco and going to the Spectrum as a kid all the time, and it had that smell, and it had that smell forever. Does the Palestra still smell the same? Are there basically similarities you remember as a kid?
Well, truthfully, it hasn't changed much. I do think, since I've left, the way they did the hallway, make it almost like a museum, a historical walk through, basketball, college basketball in Philadelphia. Not only the colleges, but the high schools, the pros. I mean, the Sixers played there. All the high school playoff games are there. As a high school player, your dream was, can we get our team to the playoffs, which means we get to play in the Palestra. So you look at all the great players and all the great coaching legends. There's on one side of the building, and you have all the coaches that have coached here that are, many of whom are in the Hall of Fame. And then you have each Big Five team is represented. Penn, of course, has a great area on the one side of the Palestra. I mean, you can just walk around there and just read up on so many things and be there for hours. So that's new. But other than that, the one thing that's different is we do have, our offices are now next door in what was all the old Hutchison gym, and now there's a practice facility, which is really nice.
Yeah. Now, I was told that your nickname when you were playing point guard for Penn was White Magic.
Yes.
Can you give us an idea who gave you that nickname? Where'd you get that from?
Yeah, I got that from Julius Thompson, sports writer, a very popular sports writer in Philly. He covered high schools at the time I was in high school, and I was on a very, very good, what was the early stages of AAU, with Gene Banks and Jeffrey Clark and Larry Gainey and Joe Garrett and Darryl Warwick and Lewis Lloyd. And Lewis Lloyd was Black Magic. So Julius said, well, we have Black Magic, we need White Magic. So that was a fun team. We pretty much never lost to anybody. It was the Sunny Hill All-Stars is what it was. It was a group of young men from the Sunny Hill League that we put together and went everywhere and played. And then a number of us played in the Dapper Dan Roundball Classic, and we even beat the United States that year. So a special group. It's nice when you have the number one player in America. It was Gene Banks at the time, and Lewis was right there.
Yeah, we see a lot in baseball. We see catchers become managers, and you play point guard, right? How much did that kind of prepare you to be a coach? What comes with that position?
Well, when you play that position, you have to know all the positions. So if you're running the offense, if you're running an out of bounds play on the side or underneath, you have to make sure everybody's lined up properly, and you have to understand how the play is executed and what the counters are. So if they top block it, if they switch it, okay, well, I'm looking for this, I'm looking for that. So you see the game differently. But essentially, the reason I wanted to get into coaching was I wasn't ready to leave the game. It was too big a part of my life for so long. Then all of a sudden, your playing career ends, but your basketball career doesn't have to end. So I've been incredibly fortunate.
I know there's some players, they've talked about it might be too stressful or too much pressure to come back home and play in their hometowns because, there's a lot of pressures of that person, and also maybe family members looking for tickets and everything. Give me an idea of what it's like to come back home as a coach, where you played, the pluses and the minuses for you.
Well, this is, as you know, a very proud and storied basketball program. The tradition of incredible accomplishment is extensive for a very long period of time. So there are a lot of my former teammates, former players, those who wore that jersey want us to continue to be successful, and they've entrusted me in that objective, and hopefully I can come through. I take a very business-like approach to this profession. I grind every day, plan practice, break down practice, break down the next opponent, and try to teach and coach and prepare our guys to be better players, but also to understand and how to prioritize winning, and then how to specifically execute a game plan. And then we just move on to the next game. At the same time, obviously, we're focused on recruiting. What do we have? What do we need? Who is graduating? And so, it's very comprehensive in terms of our responsibilities, but I have a great staff. and a great administration, and excited by the challenge every day.
You were, of course, longtime coach at Iowa, a great program, and Big Ten, big-time Big Ten program. So give me an idea of what it's like to come from that, and now you're in the Ivy League at Penn, and there's obviously a lot of challenges with that, with the NIL and all the money floating around college basketball now. How much of a challenge is it?
Well, it's just really different. We did not opt into the NCAA settlement, which means we don't have revenue sharing salaries to pay the players. So that level is completely different than it ever was. It started coming into play like 3 or 4 years ago, where you could pay the players based on their name, image, and likeness. It wasn't essentially supposed to be a salary, but that has now changed, and you can do that. You can also provide NIL opportunities at those programs. In the Ivy League, it's still a non-scholarship. We're selling a future. It's a 50-year decision. It's not what you're going to make in the next 15 months. We also will help connect our players from a networking standpoint to help them engage with the corporate community and some successful alums. So you can get a job opportunity, legitimate work opportunity for market value, not show up for an hour and get a bunch of money and come play for us. It's not like that here. It's not going to be like that here.
And talking to some coaches over the last year or 2 years, they talk about how almost you're recruiting your own players every day and making sure they want to stay, making sure they want to be here. What do you think of the overall landscape of college basketball now, where it's kind of like the Wild Wild West? I mean, how can we put some guardrails on this thing?
Well, it's interesting because I'm asked that question a lot, and a lot of people discuss that very topic. The problem right now is nobody can seem to agree with what we should do, but everybody agrees with your premise, which there needs to be guardrails, and it should not be the Wild Wild West. I think we are headed in that direction. I do think we have good people leading, not only in terms of administrations on college campuses, but the NCAA. A lot of people think NIL is going to go away. It's not. NIL is here to stay. The Supreme Court voted 9-0 in favor of that. The settlement was supposed to essentially set some guardrails up. It's still not happened. But I do think, when it's all said and done, there has to be contracts with the players, at that level. Again, that wouldn't happen here. But it can't be that every athlete is a free agent at every point in time. There's no other sports entity that does that. NBA and MLB teams, they lock up their superstars and agree to pay them a certain amount of money, and they agree to play for a certain period of time. It can't be I'm constantly playing for my next contract and I'm listening to my agent more so than I'm listening to my coaching staff. And I think that cheapens the game a little bit if everybody's focus is that. I still think we need to focus on winning and team chemistry and enjoying the ride. I can tell you the best 4 years of my life was the 4 years I played here. And I try to provide that for the guys that have ever played for me. And I stay in touch with them, and I can tell you that it's factual. These 4 years, when you get to travel around the country and play basketball on television and compete for championships and learn and grow and overcome adversity and deal with loss and struggles, whether it be injuries or we're not playing well or you're not playing well, how do we improve? Because that's what life is. You constantly strive to be better. And it prepares you for life after basketball, being part of a program. And I think that's what I've always tried to do, is run a program and provide culture and not just coach a basketball team.
Yeah, that is a great way to look at it. And, of course, in this matchup with Penn and Villanova, Penn has lost some kids to Villanova. Is this kind of, you feeling like an underdog? Like, this is a chance for Penn to show, something here, and because the system is set up, Villanova is able to, give guys a lot more money and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think that's true, but I don't view it that way. To me, I'm going to show up with my team. They're going to show up with their team. We're going to compete. We're not going to be, thinking or looking at all at the parameters that both teams deal with. Everybody has situations that are only part of that school, that program, whatever. This is a Big Five game, and we're going to prepare and try to play the best we can and try to win. As I said, the respect I have for that institution, especially in regard to who their coach is and the coaches that came before, all of whom I know and respect. I've known Jay Wright for years, so such respect for him. Ashley Howard on staff, I've known him for years. So, it's what this city's all about when it comes to college basketball, and we're excited about the opportunity.
I love it. Looking forward to it. Saturday night, Xfinity Mobile Arena, Penn and Villanova, Big Five Classic Championship game presented by Toyota. And before I let you go, I don't know, are you a big fan of Curb Your Enthusiasm at all?
No.
Okay, so Larry David.
I'm probably not your guy for that.
Larry David on Curb, he would be able to stare at somebody and really get something out of them. So I don't know if you believe this, but literally this popped up on my Instagram this morning. I'll play it for you. It's the video of you at Iowa and the stare down with the official.
Yeah.
And people are loving this. This is an incredible stare down. Is that something that's premeditated, or just in the moment you're thinking this is the way I'm going to get my point across?
Well, quite honestly, it was the only way I had to get my point across, because I'd already gotten one tee. So if I got teed up again, I was going to get rung. We were down 13 with 1:20 in that game and came back and won. That was one of the most incredible games I've ever been a part of as a player or a coach. And it was against a really good team. And the funny thing about it is, Tom Izzo is one of my favorite people in this profession. When you think, wait a minute, you were down 13 with 1:20, they had to choke. They didn't. They handled pressure. They made their free throws. We were just trading 3 for 2, and I think they went to 10 for 11 from the line. The one they missed kept it at a 3-point game. We had a 3 at the buzzer, put it into overtime, then won in overtime and executed well. But it's one of those games you always remember. Like I said, I was trying to get my point across. If I said one more word, it was going to be shower time. So that's about the only way I could do it.
I love it. I'm sure there were some people on the campus for the next couple days doing the stare down, because
probably
that's a pretty classic thing. One final question for you. I've known your brother, Jack, for a while, and I was telling you before, I would see him at the gym all the time, and we miss him on the beat. And he, of course, is going through a health issue. He had a stroke. But what does it mean to you, and what does it mean to your brother, the fact that you being back home, you're able to be with him some more and really provide some joy to him by being back home here coaching Penn?
It's been so great. When I was in Iowa, I would call him every day. We'd speak every day. He'd watch all of our games. But now, in particular before the season, I was up there a lot. We watched the Phillies together, and I'd bring him his favorite pizza, and we just hang out. He's been to all the games. He'll be there Saturday. So that's terrific. It gives him something to do, not only watch the game, but actually be at the game. So I'm thankful for that opportunity for him. And I appreciate you asking, John.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, longtime sports writer for the Delaware County Times. Does he kind of give you, just brother to brother, the sports writer questions sometimes, or questioning things after games?
He's been an incredible resource over the years, and especially as it relates to media relations, for coaches and just incredibly knowledgeable. He's a tremendous writer, very fair. But the thing that I always loved about him was, he covered all the pro teams, but he covered all the college teams. He covered all the high school teams, whether and it's not just high school football and high school basketball, it was all the other sports, baseball, He covered all the girls' sports, women's basketball in college. I mean, he just was somebody that just loves that entire industry and writing about young people, trying to do great things. And pros is different, as you well know, but that's also fun. And we grew up. My dad bringing us to Connie Mack Stadium, watching the Phillies play, and we were both ushers at the Eagles game down at the Vet. For a couple of years, we did that. So, to be doing what we're doing, he's involved in sports, and I'm involved in sports. It's what we love. It's what we know, and we've always enjoyed it together.
That is awesome. And I'm so glad you're back home here and to be with Jack. You brought up Connie Mack. I got a trivia question before we end this. There's only one Phillies person, I should say, that has been in uniform, Connie Mack, the Vet, and Citizens Bank Park. I'll put you on the spot. Do you know who it is?
Been in uniform.
So, yeah, technical question.
I would need a while to think about that.
Yeah, it's a great question because he reminds me of it. Larry Boa.
Yeah.
Larry Boa.
Yeah, I should have got that because when I threw out the first pitch,
yeah,
I was talking to Larry. He was my favorite player growing up because I was a shortstop, and he was obviously playing for the Phils. But yeah, he came up. He was like a rookie.
Yeah,
playing at Connie Mack.
I tell you, I mean, it's probably like you with basketball, like the love affair he has with baseball. He's still down at spring training. I think he's close to 80 now, in incredible shape, but he's still throwing BP at spring training. He can't quit baseball. I'm sure you're the same way with basketball.
Exactly right. We can never walk away, and what a great way to make a living.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, congrats to you on being back home, and we wish you the best against Villanova Saturday night, and appreciate the time.
Thanks for having me on, John. Take care.
Flagrant.